All right. Good morning, everybody. So we are live on CNN, right?
Man,
Okay. So it's good to see our faces, and thank you for this honor, and thank you for the privilege to be here today. So, Relationship Realities Show is where we share, knowledge, and we learn from, from the tap of our stickers. We tap into your knowledge, and we want you to share from your experiences and your expertise as well. So today, like I shared, we'll be discussing on the topic, the relationship blueprint. So I have with me here Coach Boluwatife. So hello, Coach.
Hi.
Yeah, so
Ah.
is it I should allow you do your introduction, so I won't have to do that. So we want to meet you, Coach.
Do you want the short title or the long title?
Very short. Don't short.
Okay, so my name is Boluwatife David. I am the lead consultant and the CEO of High Performance Consulting. I'm a high performance coach, NLP certified practitioner. What else is there to know? And the convener of the Focus Live Summit. Yeah, pretty much. Short title.
Okay. All right. Welcome, Coach. So
Thank
he's
you.
also my coach, right? And I remember then, when you're like, mind spec, what are you doing? Mind spec. So it's kind of like it pushes me to be more, do more. And so yeah, thank you. So I'll go to so let me do male, female, male. So Sister Lushala, can we meet you?
okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm really happy to be here at the debut, show of my darling sister, whom I've met in tech, the Elevation Church. My name is Shola Olukoshi. I'm a solicitor in the United Kingdom. I won't call myself a coach, but I believe we all learn from each other, and we all have one or two things to say. So I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the honor. And my counselor, Counselor Tola, over to you, sir.
Hi, thank you very much. My name is Tola Adeyemi. I am an HR professional, and I'm a professional counselor and a marriage mentor. I'm also the convener of Kiddies Hangout, where we call kids together and teach them values and make them network from their young age.
All right, great. Okay, so I am Aderonke, your host today, right? I'm your Aderonke, just your Aderonke, you guys know that. All right, so in starting our program this morning, like our usual doctrine, welcome at Akintunde, you're welcome on board. So I have a story I'm going to read to us that I'm going to share to kickstart our show this morning. So this was a story that was shared and about a lady who found out that her husband is cheating on her. But I'm going to just read the story, and then we kick start with the questions. So I met my husband back in the university days. We started dating since 2002, and we got married in 2008. My husband is my best friend, confidant, and everything. I trust my husband with all my life. Due to the nature of his job as an engineer, we relocate yearly to different cities. And whenever we do move, I had to start a new career for myself. So we both agreed that I start a catering business to establish myself. I'm presently running a training in catering, but my health challenge has been slowing me down to achieve success in this area. Fast forward to 2019, I noticed my husband was cheating. I saw a couple of receipts from hotels, gift shop, and vouchers. I confronted him, but he said it wasn't his, it was for his friends. I found used and unused condom also in his backpack, and he claimed that it was meant for his friends as well. And so I have been having series of infection as well, and which led to miscarriage of our children. I spoke with him about this because that I don't understand if maybe he has been cheating on me or what, that I just don't understand why I'm going through miscarriage every now and then. So the rest of the story is coming from my head right now. And so she said that she now later found out that her husband was actually cheating on her. And they had a discussion because we saw a series of chat as well. That she actually screenshots to me, and she found herself like she could not even trust her husband. She couldn't even look into her husband's face any longer. Sex is now very boring. Like, she cries each time. In fact, she begs for sex because the husband is always like, I'm tired, I'm no longer interested. So she said that when they started in 2000 and when they got married in 2008, compared to now, everything has changed. She has lost her self-confidence, self-esteem. She no longer recognizes herself. She doesn't even know who she is any longer and who she wants to become, because all her life has been like she has been living for her husband. So she's tired and she's scared. She really wants help, but she doesn't know how. And she needs help. So this is someone who husband admitted that, of course, yeah, I'm cheating. Like, you are bigger now, and so I can't stand you any longer, and all of those. So then I asked the question. Then she asked me because she saw my post, and that was why she actually shared this story with me. So she now said that, so how do I, because now it seems like my relationship blueprint, like I explained to her, no longer fits. So how does she actually relate, as in try to make sure, she doesn't want to leave a marriage, but she wants to stay there, and she knows that the marriage is unhealthy. So how will she manage it, comparing her blueprint and her husband's blueprint has been, they are now unmatched. They are no longer matching each other. So what can she do? As a counselor, as a coach, we have coaches and we have counselor in our midst. So what is the advice I'm going to give this sister who found out that blueprint with her husband no longer matches and she doesn't want out? So ladies first, I think I will do that. Ladies first. So Sister Lushola, can you please share your perspective? What is the solution?
Okay, thank you very much indeed. It's a mixed story, and the sad bit of it is the husband doesn't seem to really care. He doesn't seem to be very much interested in the relationship anymore. On the part of the lady, I can still see a willingness. And unfortunately, because obviously marriage is participation of two, it can't be done as an individual on your own. The other person has to be interested. Mm-hmm. So what I would say is that it's a bit of a difficult situation, but I want the lady to realize that she's an individual of her own. You have a life outside your marriage, and it's important to build that confidence. It's important to build the confidence, that you can stand on your own 2 feet. I mean, I think it's a bit more difficult for her because clearly from the story you told, it appears that she's financially reliant on her husband, because you said a catering business, obviously it had to be packed up because of health issues. Now, when it comes to a situation where your health is being threatened, I think it takes it to a whole new level, because it's a person that is alive that can be in a marriage, So, I think there's a judgment call there. She's got to weigh the two on the balance, because of the health implication it's having on her, to see if it's actually viable to carry on in that relationship, especially when there's no willingness to change. And then she's being exposed to potential of getting any of these diseases. So I think that's my perspective. It may be a biased one because I'm a lady, but that's one reason in the Bible. The Bible even talks about the possibility of divorce, where there's unfaithfulness. I'm not saying in every case where there's unfaithfulness, there must be a divorce. No, there are times when you can work things out and the marriage is even stronger than it was before the incident. But in a situation where there's no willingness on the part of the partner, of the husband, to change, it puts the woman in a very difficult situation. So that's what I have to say.
Absolutely, great. Okay, so like you were talking about, marriage is a joint affairs, right? So well, my own definition actually for like I said earlier is for relationship blueprint. Relationship is about two people coming together in agreement that we have a future together that we want to build together. So they both agreed. And the blueprint for me is like what we use in construction, because I studied real estate management. So in construction, we have what we call the layout. We have the plan, to build a home. So that is what the blueprint is all about. So when it's no longer there, and during those period, everybody does have a responsibility to take. Or you have the architectural designer, you are the one to design, you are the builder, you are the what's it called, the surveyor. Everybody does have a role. The same way in a relationship that you have your responsibility, I have my responsibility, and we have commitments to also take in impact. So yeah, that is very, very important, because it seems like the husband is not really seeing something wrong or something to work about on the So Councillor Tola, I'm going to move to you for your own perspective, please.
All right, thank you. I was having a little network challenge. I hope it will be fixed now. All right, thank you. I agree with what Shola said, and yes, the lady has reached out to you, and in counseling, we focus on the client. Now the guy has not come, and might not be willing to come, at least from the beginning. But since the client has approached you to intervene in a situation, one, we have to focus on her. She has some health challenge which has to be attended to. And the first question will be, what does she want? She said she doesn't want to leave the marriage. And so we want to give her tools to make to at least give her options. Yeah, she has several options. One of the options is you don't have to stay with a cheating husband, which usually I really wouldn't. I'm not an advocate of divorce and all that. But she has clearly said she doesn't want to leave, and we need to help her to be able to live healthy in that relationship by first getting her to heal, and then at some point we would explore getting the husband in and try some mentoring for both parties. However, I was looking at them, there are some a few information loaded in your story. I thought she relocated every year with the guy, and then it goes to show how there had never been a plan. There was no blueprint from the beginning, because she was following the husband's dream, the husband's blueprint. She was just following everything the husband was doing. And at a point when all you do is to follow and you're not participating, you're a spectator and just looking, you get tired. And the reason for following also did not come to, I think it didn't make any effect, because even following a guy, he still went about cheating and all that. And so I think from the beginning, there wasn't a blueprint, there wasn't a family vision. Perhaps she didn't really have a vision for her life, what she was going to achieve, what she was, and then what they were going to achieve together. What she did was to follow the guy and follow the guy. And now the guy is, she has no livelihood of her own. She relies on the guy for everything, and that's why the guy can call her bluff when a spouse relies solely on the other. At times a party gets so overburdened. At times, especially if the other party is not showing enough appreciation or so. But in this case, we don't know whether that happened. But first, we need to get our health condition in check. We need to get her to find something to do for herself, and then keep our mind from wandering and thinking and being depressed. Get her engaged, get her focused, and then we would at some point work on the marriage. We at one point try to invite the husband in and try to do some interventions, because she doesn't want to live a marriage. The guy doesn't care. No one can live like that forever. At some point, there has to be some interventions whereby we try to get the guy to see reasons, and then we try to get her to not be so much affected by what's happening around her. Let her get her focus on something else. And I'm sure by the time she's able to stand on her feet, she can make better informed choices. And hopefully the guy will also come to therapy, and then would be able to find whatever is missing in that relationship that is making the husband go haywire. Find that and we try to talk around it. And, yeah. But ultimately, it's a choice. What she wants from this that you guide her into.
Thank you for that. I remember in our session last week, one of the panelists mentioned that living a healthy relationship lifestyle is something we all should have, but it's a choice all the same. We have power to make choices, and like what I used to say, like whatever choices you are making, it has to be some choice that you can live with for the rest of your life. So I remember in our conversation, she said something like, you know what, I just want to start a new life. I said, I asked, and as a counselor, you have to ask questions. They will be the one to give you answer. Like, okay, so how do you intend to achieve that? And I remember her saying that I'm just going to be in that marriage and I will make him invisible in my life. I said, okay, so you're going to stay in that marriage, seeing him cheat, no sex with your husband, and you want to do what? Have a new life, starting by having a haircut and all of that. So that is also something the perspective we should look into. Like sometimes we just feel like, okay, I just want to be there as Mrs. because I cannot throw away the Mrs., but I want to have a new life. How possible is that? Like you are living in an unhealthy relationship and you want to, just like you taking wine from, putting an old wine into a new wine into an old wine skin. So Counselor, Coach Bolu, over to you, please. Let's hear your perspective.
I think that, first of all, let me say thank you so much for bringing me on this panel. I think Tola and Shola has done quite a lot of justice to the question already. Now, for me, I think that in this entire scheme, a fundamental thing has already been breached. Now, one of the things I like to say to people when it comes to relationship and eventually marriage is the fact that in every marriage, of course, there is this saying that when you get married, two people becomes one. But in the midst of two people becoming one, I think it is very important that we are not violating the consciousness of individualism. Now, for every individual, there is a purpose. For every individual, there is an agenda. Right. The agenda is not meant to be compromised on the table of of marriage. Rather, it is meant to be enhanced. Now, for this particular lady you're speaking about, I think that the fundamental problem or the fundamental mistake that she has made already is the fact that she has sacrificed her individualism so much so that she stopped existing at the point where she's existing. She stopped living at the point where she got married to this husband. And as of now, if there's anything that I think is mostly important, right, it is for her to start to live, for her to first of all sit down and identify who she is as an individual, what her personality is, what her likes are, what her desires are, what our dreams are, what our strengths, our weaknesses, and all of those things are. Because the truth of the matter is that, Tola said, it gets to a point where you are totally dependent on a partner that the relationship is no longer symbiotic, but it becomes parasitic, right? The other party would do everything in their life to expunge you, to push you out, right? Now, I, for one, believes, right, that there is nothing impossible for anybody to achieve in this life. And that is the truth. The game of getting people and wooing people is a very easy game. We all play the game of trying to get somebody and get the other person by playing different roles per time as we grew up in life. As a teenager, we scoped a lot of ladies scoped us, right? There are some people you did not have the intention of dating, but by virtue of the way they comported themselves, you started dating them or you considered dating them. Now, the truth of the matter is that if she really wants and I'm saying this carefully because there are some ideologies I have about marriage and the concept of individualism that contravenes a number of things that some people believe about marriage. So I don't generally like to speak about them in public, open conversations like this. I like to apply those principles case on case, one-on-one basis, but I'm going to try and apply it to some extent to this situation, right? So if she wants to stay in the marriage, for me, I think it's valid for whatever her reasons are. Because the truth of the matter is that, see, one of the things I say to people is that everybody is functioning perfectly the way they are until they come to a point of acceptance that I'm not functioning perfectly, right? Now, everybody is also going to change, but they're going to change at their own pace. Everybody would grow, but they will grow at their own pace, right? One of the mistakes I made early in my career as a coach was wanting to make people change at my own pace. Whereas I became frustrated because people needed to change at their own pace. So if she says that, oh, she wants to, stay in that marriage, maybe the first thing I want to do is to use questions to let her realize and understand the consequences of that decision. Right. So the moment I've been able to do that for her, and she's still telling me that, hey, I still want to stay in this relationship for this and this and these reasons, fantastic. My focus then would move from the marriage as a whole to her. And I would take, it's called, I generally call it this thing, Project New Me, where you are recreating yourself within the environment within which you exist. Now, of course, that environment is going to place some limitations on you, but that is the price you're going to pay for saying that you still want to remain within that environment. So the question is, who is she, right? If the husband is saying that she's big, the question is she satisfied with her size or does she want to lose weight? The truth of the matter is that she can become the most desirable woman that man will begin to chase again in another 1 year if she decides to really invest in herself, right? The question is, what is her health challenges? Can it be managed? Can she begin to take care of herself? What can she do to generate money for herself so that she can begin to attend to some of the things that will make her glow and look well and, and then, map out a developmental plan that will make her to become a person that she personally will be first of all proud of, and there's somebody that is desired. The truth of the matter is that at this level where she is, she's, you know, I say that when people are going to a table of negotiation, right, we all must look for the leverage you are bringing to the table. In this case, for me, I don't think she's gotten any leverage, right, because she has not spoken about how she has contributed and impacted on that relationship, right? So, and in that case, there is only so much leverage that she's gotten, except the fact that, oh, I'm married to you, and because I'm married to you, you owe me your duty of trust, you owe me your duty of fidelity, and all of those things. But the truth of the matter is that sometimes, by virtue of the things that even play around, some of those rights has been compromised, either by the way a party has comported themselves, not necessarily because the other party cheated, but a lot of other factors that comes into a mix, right, that inform certain decisions. Now, it doesn't justify, I mean, it doesn't make the decision right, but in some ways, by virtue of retrospect and benefit of hindsight, you know, we begin to say that, okay, maybe there are some things that you have done at some point, right, that necessitated these things. And let me say this, I'm not saying this because I'm a guy or because I'm a guy. And Ronke knows me very well, that when it comes to these things, I am an unbiased umpire that can swing the wing this way and swing it that way. Now, but for the case that you have presented to us right now, I think essentially she has compromised the consciousness of individualism. And if there's anything that I would want her to do, is to pursue that with all of our strength, with all of our might. My wife knows me. And one of the things I would always say to my wife is that, see, never, never, never sacrifice your dreams for the purpose of the family. The reason is simple. I don't want a situation where 20 years from now, she would now come and say, oh, I could have been this, but I couldn't be this because the family placed a lien on me at some point. If child rearing would place a limit on your dreams, then let us not have the child, right? Because at the end of the day, like you said, it's a partner of two people coming together to make decisions that will not place a lien on one person at the expense of the other. Marriage should give wind to the wings of both parties, right? It's another thing where we are saying that, okay, pause your own for 1 year so I can make significant move. Then I'll pause my own for another 1 year so you can make significant move, and all of those things. It's another thing if that conversation has been held and we are saying that, okay, we are alternating it, right? But it becomes, you know, there's this mentality that women have, that to some extent the weight of family sustainability or family health is on their head, and that they should take all of the sacrifices and they should kill their dreams, right, for the family. I totally negate that. I totally negate that. You know, and for me, I think one of the things that every man should actually be looking at, and this thing I learned it a very long time ago. I think I was in 100 level or 200 level when I learned this thing. That at the end of the day, as a man, your wife is your garden and you are the gardener. Your job as a man is to ensure that your garden is beautiful, right? But unfortunately, a lot of men doesn't see like that. And most, and even greater level of being unfortunate is that most women do not even see themselves as gardens. So they are not even then trying to do anything to tend themselves. So, so I think if I should put all of these things, you know, in a summary, anyways, is that a lady should first of all come to and understand the fact that, hey, I have neglected myself for this long period of the time. Now is the time to invest in myself, you know, and make myself a priority now. Make myself a priority now. By the time I have improved myself, even if I'm not desirable to this guy, I will become a product that is desirable to a lot of other people, that will give myself and my life meaning. And then, you know, I'm able to burst out with a sense of joy and happiness. And if I have developed myself enough and we come to that negotiation table, it is easier for us to negotiate and even get this guy to come for counseling, because now I have leverage. I have something that I can place on him as a lien as well. But as of what it is right now, the balance is lopsided. You know, the lady is so much at a disadvantage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Coach. So thank you, Coach. Coach Bolu. I really appreciate that. All right. So the thing here is the blueprint. It seems like the lady actually doesn't have a blueprint. So I think,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
she doesn't. It seems the guy just have. So she's just tagging along with the guy. And
Maybe she fell in love with the blueprint of the guy, and then she just abandoned her own and then started running.
yeah, yeah. We get lost in between, this word love, this love thing. Yeah, I don't understand. We ladies, we just find ourselves like we just be following the goal. So, this morning I just want us to look at with this story we brought about, like, okay, so how do we now, like, how do we singles, because me, I'm still single, so how do we singles now find ours, as in how do we try to design our own blueprint in order to live a healthy relationship lifestyle? Because you and I would agree that this person, this story we just read, she's struggling with finding herself. And I think sometimes it's not the issue of us not knowing who we are, but we just, at some point, I think we let go of that. I don't really understand. Sometimes maybe we just, is it love? I don't understand, because now I shared a story with her on my video yesterday. Like, there was, if not for the sake of the blueprint I actually created for myself, I would have found myself in an unhealthy relationship again. Right. So the blueprint I actually created for myself helped me, to guide me, to look at, okay, wait, uncle, we are talking about, okay, this love. What is love to you, and what is transparency to you? So it helped me to understand that what love means to my partner is different from what it means to me. What transparency means to me is different from what it means to my partner. Right. So I was able to, like, no, this is another red flag. I need to papa, just run out of it. So here we want to know, how can we actually, what do we need in our blueprint to help us live a healthy relationship lifestyle? Sister Shola, you want to go? What do we need? What are the lists we need to
Yeah.
check to help us actually, know that,
Yes,
okay, we're on the
indeed.
right track?
Yes. So I will break it down from blueprint to values so that everybody understands, what the blueprint is. I think having a healthy set of values, there must be something that underpins you as an individual. For me, I'm a Christian, so there are certain things I don't do. So, for instance, when I was dating, obviously before I met my husband, I have, that very, very clear ideal that I don't believe in sex before marriage. So automatically it filters itself. Any guy coming to me wanting that will find, a roadblock, because it's a no. That's a no-go area. So I think it's important to share the same values with your future partner. When I was preparing for this note, I feel that what was impressed on me strongly was preparation. A lot of us don't prepare. And someone once said that if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people get lost in the euphoria of I'm single, I'm looking for somebody, and then you don't remember that it is something you actually prepare for. And this is what I mean. You know it at the back of your mind that, of course, you want to get married. I mean, it's a different thing if you want to stay single, but if you do want to obviously get married, you know that you prepare yourself, you build yourself up, enhance yourself. Nobody wants to marry a liability.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people go into relationships thinking, oh, I'm looking for someone to take care of me. It's all about me, me, me. No, it doesn't work that way. Look out. There's a lady that touches me so much, Joyce Meyer. I don't know if you ever listened to her, but I love her sincerity. She said when her husband, because she went through so much, she was abused by her dad and all of that. So she was really broken when her husband met her. And you won't believe what her husband's prayer was, Dave. His prayer was that God should lead him to somebody that is needy, that he can help. And also there are two, it kind of backfires for some people, because they say don't marry a project, because that it could become pity rather than love. But in his case, he wanted to marry somebody he could, be of help to. But what I'm trying to say is this: we should go into marriage with the perspective of, I want to add value to somebody else, not necessarily, oh, I want somebody that I'll be a liability to, they'll take over my whole entire life. No. So you have to be an individual of your own. As the Tola and Boluwatife rightly said in the first case, you have to have that individuality. It's so important. And then you have to have certain sets of values that underpins your life, that underpins the things you do, So for instance, talking about the blueprints again, I keep calling it the values. Those values are the things that keep you. They are the things that, because I always tell people, even when issues start in marriages, you would have a glimpse before marriage. Everybody I've asked always says yes. I have a friend that her husband they're separated at the moment because he's, in the States, she's, in the UK. And, of course, she knows deep down, she feels that he's cheating. And I said, when you were dating, did you notice any of these things? Because we've prayed together, we've become closer, as a result of talking about these issues. And she said, the truth is yes. He said, in fact, there was a day that he was in the place and he was in the living room talking to another lady. Do you get what I mean? So you will almost always have that perception, especially if you're a Christian, because I'm speaking from the perspective of a Christian, because that has really helped me. Knowing Christ earlier on in my life has given me the ability to make a choice based on him. So there are some certain values that has come as a result of my faith in Christ. So she said, unfortunately, when they were dating, she was still a teenager, very young. So all those things, she was just thinking he will change. She didn't see it as a big deal. But the truth is, attitude and character is like a leopard spot. You can't change it. So a man that is so nice to you, very old, very hunky-dory, but to his sisters and friends, is very violent. Don't think it's going to carry on forever. It's going to. There's a proverb where we come from. I believe most of the people here are Yoruba, but if you're not, I would explain it. It says that, which means that the same, cane is used on his, on the senior wife will be used on the younger one, the new wife that feels also loved up. So it's so important you glean from the things you see. You see, even the Bible says, watch and pray. It didn't say pray alone. Watch. God has given us our senses, our perceptions, our eyes for a reason, so that you can perceive things, danger ahead of time. When you lose that peace, you're going into a relationship, you are not at peace, you see the red lights, don't go on blindly. Don't go on blindly, because the book of Proverbs says you go on blindly and then you get into that danger. So those are the warning signs you see. So I think it's so crucial that at that stage, because marriage is so valuable, so valuable to God, because it's his institution and he hates divorce. So that's why before getting into it, we don't rush into it. I tell people, give it time. At times you meet someone after 3 months, they want to get married. There are some things time does. Time proves things. Time reveals things. At times the mind is, I'm so much in love, I just want to rush it. No, if you really love me, you will wait. At times it pushes the wrong people off, because a man that can't wait for you to marry you, what else wouldn't he wait for in marriage? So it's so important to have those values. And I pray that as we all make those decisions, we will have that inner leading and that peace to guide us to the right people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Shola. Okay, so guys, while we are listening, while we are learning, and while we are jotting, please kindly let's share if we have questions, let's share it on the chat room and we would answer. Because of our time, we might not be able to, unmute ourselves to ask the question directly. So please, let's try to jot it down and share on the chat room. So Councillor Tola, over to you.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for that explanation and contribution. Okay, yes, I will talk about the blueprints in two folds: the pre and post marriage. In relationship, you have the blueprints. In marriage, you have the blueprints. I would say, like Shola said, you look at patterns. For a relationship, you look at patterns, and in the blueprint of marriage, you look at the prospects. A lot of people marry on prospects. What the guy is prospect? Yes, you can look at the prospect, but for you to make your decision to marry, you look at patterns. But those prospects will be deceiving. Where you look at patterns, what he has done. Like she said, the guy as in he been doing that before my year. He said, yes, I was in the sitting room one day, she was calling, look at the patterns. Now, he's a good guy, he has capacity to be, that wouldn't help you. If you're in the mind, you can be talking about the capacity to, but here, you're looking at pattern, what he has done, what he does. That's who he is. So now, talking about the putting for marriage, for relationship, first you need to be self-aware. It starts with that. You need to be self-aware. You need to discover yourself. Discover, like when someone calling for mentorship and all that, the first session will be getting you to be self-aware, know your personality, for both parties, conduct an assessment for them, and then you identify your strengths and weaknesses. And of course, usually opposite attracts. Where you are weak, the other person will be strong, and like that. By the time you understand your strength, you look at the pattern in deciding. You look at the pattern. You don't ignore red flags. Now, red flags are either deal breakers or just red flags. They might not be. Some might be deal breakers and showstoppers, and some might not. But you cannot ignore all those red flags in a relationship. Once you are self-aware, you know your weakness, you know the other guy's strength, and you see how you're going to be able to marry this. You look at the patterns of the guy. What, of course, as I said, you look at your values. What are your values should align. Your belief system should align. You can't be believing something in the extreme and the other guy believes something in the other extreme. I saw one of my mentees told me last week. I said, yes, I want to. I'm in with this guy. You know, I've always liked love. She's UK. I've always loved to marry a white man, and then this guy tick all the boxes, but only one little thing is an atheist. You call that little? That's not little. He ticks all the boxes. He's so good. He's all, but it's an atheist. And then he even said he doesn't mind to follow me to church on locations like that. It's not like that though. It's not like that because there is order in marriage. When you are married, marriage is supposed to be teamwork first. It's not one person leading the show, another. It's a teamwork, but as a team lead. If the guy is going to be a team lead, you're going to submit under the team lead. So by the time the little babies come, would you be willing for them to choose whether to believe in God or not to believe in God? So at times, love is not enough. Hollywood wants us to think, as long as you love me, that's some BS. Love is not enough. I love him, it's not enough. It's not, when the chips are down, when things start coming, the love will not sustain. So there are other things that sustain marriage. Love is somewhere, not the beginning of the ladder in the pyramid. Love is somewhere in the middle. But in choosing, in getting your relationship blueprint, Hollywood also tells us that he has to be physical. Guy tall, dark, and handsome. And then you see the lady in the gorgeous figure 8 shape, and then want to scatter your head. Look, if you get married to that, you will still see one, by the time your wife gets older, you still see one little girl with badder figure 8 and all that. So it's really not about that. So if your blueprint is about, okay, you want to talk, you want to be this, you want to be this, you're missing it. That is not in the beginning of the, that's somewhere along the pyramid. So because you should look at the content other than the container. Look at the content other than the container. Now, someone said, guys don't lie. Ladies choose to believe a lie. Now, you are in a relationship with a guy. He has 6 other girlfriends. You know that he has 6 other girlfriends, but he loves you. He tells you he loves you, and then you did everything you won his heart, and then he chooses you and marries you, and then he marries you. Then he begins to have affairs, and you say, he broke my heart. Like, refer to this guy. What did he do differently? He didn't do nothing differently. He has been like that. You saw him like that. You assume that you're going to, when you get married, your color don't change. Nothing changes. Just change from Mrs. to Mr. Nothing changes. So if he likes orange before last night, by the time you cross to marriage, he still like oranges. So what? No. So before you get married, you look at the patterns. Not so much of the prospect. Yeah, of course, the prospect has to be there, what it could be. But look at, you know what he's saying, what he's doing. You look at his pattern. And then the marriage of blueprints will now contain marrying, using your strengths and weaknesses to build, to complement each other. I am a bit of the results. I only talk loud and like this when I'm addressing. I could be very choleric or sanguine when I'm addressing. But in my normal self, I'm cool. I don't like to mix. My wife, on the other hand, me, I don't like to be seen. But she will be seen, gives her energy, gives her the vibe. Now, it is bringing this. So I have a project. I cannot promote my project. I cannot without her core strength. And she uses her strength. I told you we are conveners of Kiddies Hangout. And all I like to do is to just prepare what to say, engage the kids. I can engage the kids. She doesn't have the patience to engage the kids, but then she can. You need to see the venue, very beautiful, but left to me. I'll just say that I don't care whether anything is fine, anything is fine. So you use your strengths to complement each other, and then you have your vision. She has a vision. You put it down, and then you marry it. So if you are, I want to make the best. I want to make the best sport club at its way or a gym. And she is, man, I want to be the best beautician, the loudest. She wants to be known. Now, you're not running different visions. By the time you mix it together, this family wants to have the best gym that will be so beautiful, that will be loud. So you marry it together, and you're pursuing it. By the time both parties are pursuing the same thing, the individual visions will be fulfilled. But when you just go into it, and a lot of people go into a relationship, let's see how it goes. I didn't do my courtship like that. I didn't see how it goes. I was a little old school, when I did. I dated girlfriend, I married girlfriend. No, and that was it. I don't have any other experience. It's time to get a girlfriend. I got my girlfriend, I married her. Simple, cutie. And then, you find someone where is your boyfriend? That's it's so cute. Are you going to marry? No. Yeah, like seriously, and we just seeing how it goes. What are you seeing? You don't see how it goes. You have a plan and you follow that plan. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah. Don't see how it goes. Have a plan and follow through. Okay, so I'm going to say this in regards to what Councillor Tola and Sister Shola mentioned. So you're talking about values, like you have your home values and your partner does have. If you remember what I said before, Sister Shola came in the chat, I mentioned that even having the same value doesn't really mean you guys are actually speaking the same language. So speaking in the angle that I have love on my list, on my blueprint. He also have love. I have transparency. He does. I have commitment. He does. I have communication. Yes, he also have it. So we think like, oh yeah, we actually, yeah, everything is in there. So we have common values. But what transparency, speaking from experience, what transparency means to my partner is not the same as what it means to me. So let me try to elaborate a little. Like, transparency to me means we say everything to one another. We talk anything, like everything. Anything, that is me. But to my partner, transparency to him means that, when I ask, yeah, I can say it. I don't have to ask. So it's something we need to talk about, like, what does love mean to you? It's not enough, like we said, love is not enough. It's still not enough to just have the list, like be ticking the checklist, like, okay, I check. We also need to have an understanding that, okay, if love actually means what love is to me, if it's not, then it's something we should talk about. So I will go to Coach Bolu. Let's hear from your own perspective. So
Okay, thank you so much for the question. I think I really love the perspective Shola and Tola came from. Shola had spoken extensively about the need for people to have values and the values to be, what guides decisions. Tola has spoken about paying attention to patterns. And one of the things I like to say to people is that every other thing can lie, but patterns don't lie. We all have patterns of creating different results in our lives. And either I wake up, I sleep, I'm going to be using the same pattern to create the same result. The unfortunate thing most of the time is that a lot of people are not even aware of their own pattern, but an observer can, identify the pattern. So I'm not going to be taking my conversation in the direction of values. I'm not going to be taking my conversation in the direction of patterns, because I think those two pillars are significantly being addressed. Now, the part where I actually want to take my conversation to, when it comes to designing a blueprint for marriage or in a relationship. So designing a blueprint for marriage, so there are two things, like Tola said. There is designing a personal blueprint for your life. Then there is designing a blueprint for your relationship and for your marriage. Now, my blueprint as an individual already exists. My wife's blueprint as a woman, individual, already exists. So at the point of coming together in marriage is the amalgamation of our blueprints. To say, oh, I was thinking of building a duplex before. Oh, me, I was thinking of building, no, maybe I was thinking of building detached before. This other person was thinking of building a terrace. Now, maybe we're both thinking of building 4 duplexes, but in my own mind, I wanted separate. In our own mind, she wanted terraces. Now, at the point of marriage, then is, we are coming together to say, okay, which one serves our purpose the most? Now, and one of the things I've come to discover, oftentimes than not, is that on the table of combining blueprints or trying to look at each other's blueprint, a lot of people assume. So there is a lot of assumptions that come into the picture. And that is why a lot of people, end up creating a mismatch. When it comes to marriage, one of the scriptures that people refer to a lot is the Bible verse that says that do not be unequally yoked with an unbeliever. Now, majority of the time, what people think is that, no, as long as I'm a Christian and you're a Christian, we are both believers. Wrong. Unbeliever simply means somebody that you guys don't believe the same thing. So, and that is an unequal yoking. So you believe that, and that's why you hear the story of people saying that as simple as where to press toothpaste, scatter the home, because somebody is pressing from the middle, somebody is pressing from the bum. That is unequal yoking, because they don't believe in the same thing. So two Christian brothers and sisters can be two unbelievers yoking themselves together, right? And at the same time, so this is going to be a whatever at some point. And at the same time, a Christian marrying a Muslim can be perfect yoking, depending on what they essentially believe to be true about life, about themselves, and what they're trying to achieve. But again, speaking from a Christian perspective, it is not advisable that you should marry somebody out of religion. But hey, that's not the focus of this session. So what I'm actually focusing my attention on is, assumption. A lot of people assume, and like you rightly said, you say, communication is important to me. I say that communication is important to you, and we just assume that, yeah, communication.
Okay, Is it from my hand or from Bolu?
I think it's from his end because I was.
Okay, all right. Okay, while we are waiting for him to come back, if we actually have question, I want us to just raise our hands if there is any question in the house. While we're waiting for Bolu, right? So I guess it was picking my mind. Welcome back. So welcome back. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, all right. So go ahead, please.
Sorry, something happened to my phone, so I'm joined on my laptop now. So now a lot of people then work with assumption based on their own interpretation. Now the truth of the matter is that by virtue of growth experience and all of those things, different things mean different things to us, right? And that is why, you know, I say that I think one of the most important elements in any relationship is communication. Communication now is not talking, but seeking to understand. Now, a lot of people don't ask questions. And I think in designing a blueprint, one of the strongest tools for designing blueprints in a relationship is questions. Because the quality of the questions you ask will determine the quality of the answers that you get. The quality of the answers that you will get then will determine the quality of the decisions that you're going to make. Now, a lot of people then have not asked the right questions over time. They just see somebody behave a particular way and they just assume. They ask one question, the person explains it this way, and they just assume that that is what the person is trying to say, as against reiterating back to that person, oh, are you trying to say A, B, C? And then the person said, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. Oh, this is what I am actually trying to say. So I'm actually speaking to, you know, how do you design? By ensuring that you learn how to ask the right questions. Questions, they say, facilitate understanding. Without the right questions, you would be on a goose chase. You would design something that will be an anomaly, right? That at the end of the day will not contain the two of you, right? So take for instance, you know, there are a few things that I do not really appreciate about my wife today, right? And I think at some point, you know, myself and Ronke had conversations around that. And the question that would always beg answer is that, don't you see those things before you got married? Obviously, they were there. Was I blind? No, I wasn't blind. Did somebody put a gun to my head to take the decision? Nobody did. So why am I complaining about them now? The reason is simple. At the time, I explained them away as things that were not important. But as of today, I am finding that those things are not, maybe they are important, or maybe then, you know, maybe then I had the things I was chasing at that time were different. So all of these other things do not matter. But now that I've gotten those things that I was chasing, these other things are beginning to matter, right? The challenge was that at the time, I did not ask the right questions. I did not ask myself first the right questions to say, hey, they didn't matter to you today, will they matter to you tomorrow? Because so I think the questioning is even in two ways. Being able to ask myself first the hard questions that challenges my decisions and my thinking, and then secondly, being able to ask my partners the right questions to clarify, so that at the end of the day, we know that there is no ambiguity whatsoever on the subject that we have taken per time. So, you know, and for me, I think that is where I'm going to pitch my tent today, right? Even your values, there are times that the values that we even say that we have, they are not our own values. You know, some of those values were handed over to us by our parents that we don't even know what they mean. You know, somebody says, oh, my value is honesty. I tell people, sorry, my own value is not integrity, it's not there. Am I a person of integrity? Yes. But is integrity part of my value? No. Why? Because I know what integrity means.
and I know that I have the possibility of violating it. So, and I will not tell you what I am not.
Yeah.
But you know, people say, integrity, honesty, shut up, it's not your value. It was handed over to you by somebody, right? So people need to be able to say, okay, let me even query my own values first. How did I come about the things I call my own values? So that I can substantiate them to myself. Know what they mean in behavior. Know what they mean in speech. Know what those values mean in character. So that when I see a match into it, I know exactly what it looks like. So those are some of the things that, so for me, it is first of all, querying yourself, to search yourself and get the truth out of yourself first. Then querying your partner. You know, I'm using the word query carefully because, you know, somebody say, I'll just query, you know, asking the right questions so that we both can, you know, come to a place of perfect understanding of what this thing means to us. And we can begin to harmonize, you know, when you say this and I say, no, this is what it means to me. Okay, is it possible for us to harmonize it? So that we both can then know that, okay, now this thing is meaning the same thing to the two of us. And when we're able to do that, it becomes easier for us to, you know, build it. Because the truth of the matter is that one of the things that we found out is that as we journey through life, some of the things that influenced our decision at the beginning of the relationship begin to change, right? Some of those things will begin to change. Some of those things will begin to change. Some of those things will begin to change. In fact, the truth of the matter is that our values change over the years. As we grow through life, the things that were important to me at some point will change, right? But what would still continue to hold us together is that we are willing to, you know, we are both malleable, right? And we are willing to make adjustments here and there, reach for compromises here and there, that does not violate the individuality of each partner, but rather it strengthens the two of us as we go on our journey. You know, one of the things that happened to me, maybe I should just even put this there, is that when things happen in my own family that, you know, I feel like, why now? You know, there is this older family that we generally speak with, right? And, you know, every time I speak, they say, Bolu, you know, you are the man of the house. You are still supposed to be the one to make the necessary adjustments, make the necessary shift and all of that. You know, one day I cried to them and say, it's like you people are putting me in prison. It's like people want to change who I am entirely, you know, because it was challenging for me, right? I'm the kind of person that I like to go out. I can't go out because, hey, you know, my wife finds it somehow. You are just going out. Stay inside the house, you know, and stay sometimes feels like you are putting a shackle on my hands. But then, you know, so I find myself in that place. Sometimes I'm feeling like people just want me to try become somebody else completely, you know, different from who I am. But the question then that I always ask myself is that, okay, is it a growth or a reduction, right? Is it becoming a better version of yourself or becoming a lesser version of yourself? The reason why I'm emphasizing on all of these things is because at the end of the day, it's one thing for us to have a blueprint at the beginning. It's another thing for us to be willing to keep working on our blueprint as we journey along. It's almost like somebody that has, you know, we have built a house for a while. We had a blueprint, right? Then we have lived in that house for a while. And then we are not tired of the house. And we decide to demolish it and build something else, right? It's our decision. But we must be willing to jointly contribute to that demolition and rebuilding so that we can have a better, richer, and a better life, a richer life that is quality for us as the partners and even the kids we are bringing into that family and into this world. So that's my own 2 cents on the blueprint.
Thank you, Coach. Okay, so I'm going to take from that note, speaking, using the angle of a construction. And so I want to ask this question. I know in building construction, there is a state where we maintain, you know, even during the planning, we talked about maintenance. And in relationship, because if there were no maintenance, you know, that's where you see a building get to a stage of, like I said, in estate management, it gets to a state of wear and tear. So how do we manage our relationship? You know, when we're talking about, you know, we have, speaking of blueprint, so how do we maintain our relationship to just keep it flourishing, you know, keep it, because when we grow, a lot, things changes, you know, things grow with us, that we won't see that, okay, I think, why would you want us to maintain? Why do we need to maintain? Why do we need to renovate? So what are your advices to us? And when we get to that stage of maintenance, how do we even maintain our relationship in the first place? Sister Shola. Sister Shola, I know you are loaded. You want to give us, because I really want to soak a lot from you today.
Oh, I think I'm learning a lot from my other brothers, Tola and Buluwatife. They've been, you know, very, very astute. I want to pick up on two things, actually, or should I say three things? One from Tola. He talked about communication. I think it's key. I think Buluwatife also mentioned it. I think it's key to the success of relationships and maintaining it, as you said. Two things, other things which Buluwatife talked about, personality differences. It's such a strong point. It jumped at me as you're talking about. So from what you're saying, I just picked that your wife is more of an introvert and you are more of the extrovert. And it doesn't mean introvert and extrovert can marry. So those, I won't put that in value. So that's just identifying the fact that, look, we are two different people. At times, being able to explain it makes it easier for you to manage things because you can see things from a different perspective. So I'll use an example. For instance, maybe my husband forgets to get me a birthday gift on my birthday. You know, generally, men don't take birthdays very seriously. In fact, he doesn't remember his own birthday at times. You understand? But we ladies, we love, in fact, it's the biggest crime you can commit as a man to forget your wife's birthday because, you know, she will take it like you don't really care. Or maybe forget your anniversary. You understand? So we need to understand those differences. Men don't take it seriously, but women take it very seriously. So for the married men, go and save it in your diary. You have, thank God, Google and all this, you know, there's so much technology to make your life easier. Save it in there. Tola's birthday is next tomorrow. Don't save it for the day because that means there'll be no time to buy a gift. So save it for a couple of days before, a reminder, so that you can get a gift. So I think it's also about identifying each other's needs in that personality difference and trying to meet up with it. So like Buluwatife talked about, you know, loving to go out, but the wife wanting him to stay. And the good thing is, it's a positive thing because she wants them to spend more time together, presumably, you know. And but at the same time, he doesn't want to change his own personality because this is something he enjoys, to hang out with his friends. So I think it's about finding that compromise, that middle place where you can kind of maybe cut down on the going out. I don't know if you get what I mean, difficult as it seems, which seems to be what your family is preferring as a solution. You know, not altogether, because compromise is not about letting go altogether, but at least the person will see he's made an effort. Somebody that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night is not at home. Now he's cut it down. He's only going out once in a week. That's a big sacrifice. So it's about making those compromises because the other person will also see that this person has made an effort. So I think it's so crucial. And also for singles, I say again, communication, communication, communication. It's so important. It's everything. I think Buluwatife talked a lot about this, right? Asking the right questions in courtship. Asking the right, that helps to maintain a relationship. And when it progresses into marriage, you'd also be able to, because a lot of people focus and spend time on the wrong things in courtship. I go back to the issue of, you know, some people feel there's no big deal in having sex before marriage. Forgetting about the biblical perspective of it, I feel that it damages a lot of relationship. I'll tell you why. A woman that has sex with you before marriage, when you're married, is very, very likely that you would not trust her as much as you trust somebody that refused to have sex with you. I'll tell you why. Some men go out and they come in and their wives are smelling their, you know, coats and, you know, just to see if there's a smell of a perfume or looking at them to see if there's a lipstick mark. It breaches the trust of marriage. If you ever get to marry the person, it breaches that trust because the person just thinks, if she could do it with me, she could have done it with anybody else. But if it's a value, if it's a red line, it helps even to maintain a relationship because you remember that you've built that foundation of trust. And that trust cannot be, you can't just say it that, oh, I won't do it with someone else. No, you have to live it out. So apart from the fact that you're honoring God, it actually helps you as an individual. It helps that relationship because it builds that foundation of that very critical foundation of trust. It's critical to the success of any marriage, because without trust, then what are you holding on to? Trust is fundamental in any marriage. Once trust is gone, it's so difficult to carry on with the relationship. So I always encourage people. I know at times it's difficult, especially when the physical attraction is strong. But I think, again, going back to values, it takes the two parties communicating about it, especially if you have that weakness as a man, telling your partner about it so that at least one person stays strong. Do you get what I mean? So I think, obviously, going back to your point, I think it's critical, very crucial to maintaining a relationship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Shola. Thank you for that. Okay, Councillor Tola, over to you, please.
All right, thank you very much. All points, we have got a lot of information, and we're even soaking in. It's never too late to hear new things and help yourself. So everybody's learning. I'm learning also. Okay. Just starting from where she stopped talking about like I said, someone comes to me for marriage mentoring, and we start with identifying self-awareness. We look at do some personality tests and employment tests for both spouses. And I said opposite attract, and then it is really not an issue. In your explanation where you said what transparency means to me is not what it means to the other person. Yes, it's a red flag, but not a deal breaker. So now that you now understand what transparency means to him, you see, can he be married? You say no. You see, so it is not. So it's not because someone is different from you. It's really not an issue. I had a lot of fights with my wife until we began to until I understood personality differences. So you find out like the things that attracted you to someone is not the same thing that you're complaining about. This lady can talk well. She can talk well. I like it. And then you marry, she begins to talk. Why are you rude to me? so it's when your wife talks. So I haven't understood that. Not that you now begin to feel the same thing this person is speaking, but you understand where the other person is coming from. Then you do not get offended. Just go to your lane. When you have finished your lane and all that. So you're able to marry that. I'm talking about oiling the relationship and all that. I used to tell people, and I said, love is not enough, and love is in itself is a compound word. In the love we have the erotic love, we have the Christ kind of love, we have the love for a friend and all that. But love in marriage, of course, has to do a lot of decision. You have decided to do. Do you do? Yes, I do. We are done. And then things will come, but you have said you have done, you are due, and then you continue to do. But romance itself is not, it doesn't grow. Just like it doesn't grow by itself. Just like libido, your libido is not constant. It's not on a constant high. Sometimes you're in the mood, sometimes you're not in the mood. And so it's that's called wave of libido, and then even the romance itself doesn't grow because you see someone for the first time. Someone when I saw my wife for the first time, I didn't. The first time I saw her, our stories a little different. She was young, I was young, so we were not thinking of marriage. But I didn't say, wow, I want to marry. But it came to a time when I said, wow, this is what I want to marry. What I mean is that as our relationship grew, the attraction grew, and then you come to a point where you feel attracted to this person and you want to marry. But even in marriage, you don't feel like sleeping with your wife all the time. So now what I mean is, when you see someone and it was just an acquaintance to a casual friend, to a close friend, to a soulmate, there was things that were done to graduate from the level of acquaintance. I really don't know you. Then casual friend, I know about you. Then close friend like that. If you get married at the peak of your hormones of course, even in marriage, we have seasons, the honeymoon stage, and by the time that one goes out, a lot of people begin to fall out. Now, if you get married at that peak, and you expect that what Nollywood will tell us, that the girls married after 20 years, you still wake up, they're kissing. Who does that? Who really wakes up and, oh, love me? Those things are really not, they are just for the film. You don't feel like that all every day. So what will sustain your relationship is to keep oiling it. The things you did that graduated when she was an acquaintance, or to casual friend, to close friend, to soulmate, and then you decide to marry. When you get married at that level, don't assume that the love is going to stay there, the romance is going to stay there. You continue to do that. But if you don't, it will crash. It will crash. And if all the attraction was about the body, see the pad, something, and then all those things, after childbirth begins to, some ladies are lucky. They give out to 4 children, you don't even know they're married. And so like I didn't get shit. but some people too bad, when they drop one, everything falls apart. I remember you begin to pack it with some other. So if it was about that alone, then your marriage is over. So you need to continually oil it. You need to continually find dates nights. Continually do, if you were the one that does that wrote poems to your wife and all that, and it turns ahead, you now get married and you think I'm not married. Why is she behaving like this? You stop doing what you were doing. She probably doesn't even know why she's behaving like that. And your husband is reacting. You don't even know, because you stopped doing the things you were doing. So the marriage, the relationship will not grow by itself. Romance will not grow by itself. The love will not grow by itself. You have to continually make it grow. You don't stop working. Thank you.
Thank you. You have to keep oiling it. Don't stop. Okay, I like that. All right, Coach, over to you.
Well, I'm going to make this as short as possible, right?
Yes.
I remember I once read a story. I think it was a story by Stephen Covey. He said he went for a seminar, and then after speaking so well, a particular man came to him. All that you said, but there is a challenge. And Stephen Covey goes to say, okay, what's the challenge? And the man says, I don't love my wife. And then what can I do? And Stephen Covey said to him that I should go back home and love the wife. And because I'm confused. I say I don't love somebody, I should go back home and love the person. I don't love this person again. And then Stephen Covey then, went ahead to explain to this man that love is actually a verb, not a noun. Love is action. So there are certain things that you do the same way, maintaining a house, like you said, is a combination of activities: sweeping, mopping, removing the cobweb, painting when the wall is dirty, all of those kind of things. That love in itself is also, activities. There are certain things that you do to your partner today that, your partner would interpret as love. Taking a cue from the 5 love languages, words of affirmation, out of physical touch, and all of those things. Different people have different things that they interpret as love. So as somebody that wants to maintain your relationship, your job is to find out, what will my partner interpret as love when I do, so that I can consistently go ahead and do. Every time you do those things, your partner will begin to feel more love, and then they would also be able to reward you with more love. The challenge that I have seen in a lot of places is that people want to love other people the way they want themselves to be loved. So I want to love my wife the way I want to be loved. Unfortunately, that would be me shooting blanks, because she will not interpret those things as love.
So our job when it comes to maintaining a relationship is to first of all ask ourselves, what will my partner interpret as love? Then let me commit my time to doing those things, and my wife, my partner will feel love, and then our relationship can grow. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you very much, Coach. All right, guys, I can see the room is kind of quiet. Where are my guys? Okay, so it's time for questions. So do we have any question? Anybody with question? John, Akitunde, Shola, me. Okay, that's Mrs. Idewumi, Mrs. Adeyemi. All right. Questions. We need to ask questions for before we allow our experts leave us. Any question, guys?
Okay, I have one question here.
Olushola, okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, the question is regards the last statement about keep owning it in order to maintain the relationship. For instance, when you are trying your possible best as part of the other partner, try to maintain the relationship, try to keep owning it, try to make the other person to feel love, and try to meet up. I mean, you are doing all possible best to make it work on your own side, and you are not, it should be a feedback from the other side also. But when you are not getting the necessary feedback on the other side, and you know that you genuinely love this person, so what can you advise someone in that situation whereby you're not getting a reciprocate a kind of a feedback in that area when you are making an effort from your own side? I don't know if you get my question.
Yeah, sorry, I want to confirm. Is this in a marriage or in a relationship?
In a relationship, for instance, now in a relationship.
Okay, if I can just quickly jump on that. Thank you, Shola. Yeah, for a relationship, you know that you're just trying to find out if can two work together except they agree. Obviously, it looks like you're not agreeing, and like I said, you look at patterns. All that you have been doing is not very reciprocated. It's a pattern. It's a red flag. Either it's a red flag, not a deal breaker. So this red flag, you now want to see what the issue is. As Bolu has said, are you speaking the right language? Someone said in relationship, you have to be bilingual. You cannot speak only one love language. Are you speaking the right language? When we first got married, I'm sure that my wife will have been so much frustrated about unreciprocated love. I'm just not interested in the mushy. I beg. So because she really wasn't speaking my language. You don't say you love me. Me, I don't care about all those things. But that's what she wants. So for all she was doing, I know she was going all out, but then it wasn't like Bill said, he was just shooting blanks. That's not so. Until we began to understand each other's love language. So let her continue from now to forever to do all those mushy things and if he's not speaking my language, he's not speaking my language. And for me to try to do all I try to do for her and then she's still expecting you not doing like you're not doing enough. It means that you are not speaking a language. So perhaps you're not speaking the lady's language. You need to find out what our love language is. How and it can come as a question. How do you want me to love you? What do you want? How do you want me to love you? Now, if all she wants to show that you love her, perhaps you are buying the flowers, you are doing the hug, you are blowing the kisses, and she's perhaps a melancholy. She doesn't send all those things. Perhaps she just wants you to be on time, wants you to to be organized, try to get some schedules right and plan with her. And or maybe you want to ask her, so what are we doing next week? I'm going to finish this, what are we doing? And what about what you did last week? That is what she wants. Then, yeah, this guy loves me, he's interested. But if all you do is to buy the flower and say, I love you, I miss you, you're not interested in all those things. So find out if you are speaking the right language, and if indeed you are speaking the right language, then perhaps she's really not into you. Don't waste your energy. Just find the next beautiful sister. Thank you.
There are plenty of that. Sister Shola? Yeah. Okay, Olushola, okay. Sister Shola, please. Let's hear your perspective towards the question.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. I think I very much agree with what Councillor Tola said. It couldn't have been more accurate. So communication, again, it goes down to communication, understanding what she really wants. And, so at times, if she's a good person, because something must have attracted you to her in the first place, it shouldn't be a deal breaker, Try to communicate with her, find out, but if it's a case of unappreciativeness, that may be a trait you probably don't want in a wife, because, as the other speaker said, in marriage, it's so important to be appreciative. It helps to enhance a marriage when you appreciate people. So if you're doing everything and it looks like there's no movement from the other side, then you can take a dim view of that. But if it's just a question of perception, not making a big deal of it, or maybe that's not what she understands and appreciates, then you'd be able to make that judgment. Thank you.
Wow, great. So, Coach, being the question actually popped out from your last statement. Can you share your perspective towards the question, please?
Well, I think both speakers have actually answered the question extensively. If I'm going to ask anything, again, instead of assuming, go and meet the lady and ask questions, right? Like I said, questions facilitate understanding. A lot of people have concluded on a lot of subjects that they've not even asked any question about. And every time this happens, it's always blowing my mind to pieces. Like, are you serious? Have you asked a question around this? He says no. So why are you concluding that is what it is? He said, it's stupidity. I'm sorry to say, but stupidity simply means we are lacking in good judgment. Sometimes majority of our decisions are not good judgments that are born out of facts. Most of the time they are born out of emotions. So my counsel to you is that after this conversation, please give this lady a call and do not ask questions from a place of pain. Ask questions from a place of genuine curiosity, right? There are times that people are not asking questions because they want to understand. They are asking questions because they want to nail the other party. No, you should ask questions because you want to understand. Ask from a place of curiosity, right? And if you notice that your partner is always defensive when you ask questions, tendencies are high. Every time they've tried answering your question, you've nailed them by the answers they gave you, right? So go with genuine curiosity. Sometimes I say to people this way, that for you to ask questions and get the good answers, you need to lay foundation. Say, I want to actually ask you a number of questions, and I'm asking because I really want to understand. I don't want to be I don't want to be in error. I don't want to be in assumption. So, for us to drive this relationship further to the point where we really desire to be, it's important for me to know certain things. So, is it okay for me to ask those questions? Of course, they will say yes, ask the questions, right? And then you gradually pace them through asking your questions to be able to get clarity. When they give you a particular answer, you say, oh, sorry, so that I am not misinterpreting what you're saying. Are you trying to say A, B, C, D? Let them affirm to you that, yes, this is what I'm trying to say. Or let them affirm to you that, no, that is not what I'm trying to say. The moment you notice that that environment is becoming heated, and that conversation is no longer curiosity, but is becoming accusatory, then back down and say, you know what, let's have this conversation another time when our emotions are balanced and we are calm and all of those things. And for me, I think when you do that, you're able to elicit a lot about your partner, and you're able to, tailor whatever move you are doing to get the best result out of their life. Yeah, that's pretty much what I would say to that.
All right. Thank you very much. Olushola, are you cleared on that? Olushola.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well understood. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so Akitunde asked a question, but I think since you already raised your hand, I will want you to ask the question because it seems like it's incomplete to me, So Akitunde, please go ahead with your question.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
So I currently live in a mini flat. I'm gonna personalize this question. This is Nigeria right now. It's not like I don't have a job. Yeah, it's okay. Is it wrong for me to have expectations of someone I want to be with, like someone who is supportive, someone who, when I pay the school fees, she's willing to say, okay, I can afford this for groceries and everything, because apart from the fact that two heads are better than one, and I understand and I know, not that I understand, apart from understanding, I also know that I am the head of the home who's supposed to be the major provider or the provider, so to speak. Is it wrong for me to have expectations of someone I'm getting married to, especially in the system that we are in right now? Because you need to put, when you're gonna have a family, you need to put all resources together to make it work, to have a family that stands. Is it wrong for me to have that expectation? Because I'm not looking forward to getting married in a mini flat though, but I'm looking forward to the fact that if I'm going to be with someone, the person looks at the fact that, yeah, I'm here, but I have plans to get out of here, to do this, and I'm already activating those plans to make it work. Is that a wrong notion, or am I the one wrong here, or I'm getting it wrong by not meeting the right person? So rather than waste my time, I should move forward.
Permit me to jump in, being the woman here. So I think I hope I will be a bit unbiased in my response. I don't think it's wrong to have that expectation. In fact, I think it's a red flag if your partner thinks otherwise, because marriage is about partnership. We don't say it's a partnership when it suits us. Even in terms of finances, a woman should be willing to help. You don't want, to put all the heavy load on your husband. That's why you should complement each other. The virtuous woman being spoken about in Proverbs 31, it says she brings her resources from afar. She's good with knitting, she gets income, which is what we've been talking about, all day, having that independent source of income. No man wants to marry a liability. Even if you are very rich, you don't need the money now. God forbid, if the person loses their job, is the woman going to run away and she has a job? So marriage is about partnership, understanding, commitment. When you start having children, she can't be coming to you for every little thing. There are some things you just buy for the children on your own. You don't have to go each time to your husband, I want to buy something for the children, because it's your home jointly, not just the man's home. It's a joint, venture, and that should be reflective even in the finances and in things. So I think, in fact, contrary to what you're thinking, is a very, very important topic, a very important subject, which you need to raise and communicate about before you enter into this very important relationship. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay.
Okay, just to add to that, yes, I would say it is not, this is what this whole session is all about having expectations. And the only balance we're putting down is the expectations will be married at some point. You're not going to lord your own desires over your spouse. You have expectation, she has an expectation. At some point, you're going to marry the two expectations to build a solid home. So to answer your question, it is not wrong to have these expectations. It is valid. Otherwise, if you don't know what you're looking for, how would you recognize it when you find it? So you must know what you're looking for, so that when it appears, you recognize it. So it is you're right to have expectation, but only you would not find someone who will match your expectation 100%. So that's why it leads to compromises here and there. If she has expectations that are differing from yours, it doesn't make her wrong and doesn't make you right. It doesn't make you wrong either. So you just have to match it and create a bigger picture. Thank you.
Great, great. Okay, Coach, you want to add to that?
A couple of years ago, I read a book titled On Unrealistic Expectations of Marriage. And the truth of the matter is that the bulk of the problem that happens in marriage are purely born out of unmatched expectations. Now, at the core of this thing again is uncommunicated expectations. That I just assume that if you love me now, you should be able to pick the cue, and just do it. I used to have that very stupid and nonsense ideology that because I am the kind of person that looks at my wife and I can anticipate her needs and her expectations and try to match up with them, that the same thing would happen from her. Unfortunately, I would have to communicate my own because she can't see them. And I suffered for too many years because I was assuming that she would just pick the cues. In my head, I had this very funny and stupid interpretation that the moment I begin to ask, then I'm beginning to place a demand, is no longer coming out of love, but out of obligation. So for it to be out of love, you have to be able to spot it. You become the search engine. So you be looking, what's this guy's expectation? What's the expectation? Then you spot it by yourself, right? Then you match it by yourself. That is the way I think it will be. But it wasn't like that. And for many years, I was just suffering in silence. And now it was paining me, right? And I still wasn't communicating. Until one day, wisdom came to me that, Bobo, is your expectation. If you want it met, communicate it, put it on the table. Let them know that on this subject matter, these are my expectations. There is no need being shy about it. There's no need being dodgy, using style to communicate it. Guy, alpha, babe, alpha, on this matter, you go bring money, 50-50 contribution. See, as I'm paying house rent, you pay school fees, or as I'm paying school fees, you'll be providing food for the house, it suits you, so. Do you understand? But the truth of the matter is that most of us guys, we are shy about communicating our expectations. Yes, we have some expectations that are unrealistic, no doubt. But another thing I've also found is that most of us, we are shy and we are not confident to communicate our expectations. So we are just saying that, is she blind? Can't she see that I'm trying? That she should by herself just say, see, I've collected my salary, cake. How much of it do you want? No, it doesn't work like that. If you self have a choice, will you not take your money and keep in your own pocket? That's the truth. So what am I trying to say? Before you say that your partner is not matching your expectations, the question is, have you unequivocally communicated those expectations in a way that is not ambiguous? And as your partner said to you expressly that, see, this expectation, I cannot match it. So it is until that happens that you have expressed it expressly, your partner understood it, and your partner has said to you unequivocally, say, this expectation, I can't match it. Then you can come back and ask the question that, is it wrong for you to have expectations? But until you have not expressly communicated your expectations and your partner has not expressly denied those expectations, then maybe what you need to do is to actually go back and put your expectations clearly on the table so that everybody can understand that these are your expectations. So that when shop come to shoe, you'll be able to say that on so date, I communicated this expectation, and you said that you can never match this expectation. And on this basis, I think there is a mismatch. But until that happens, we don't have a deal breaker yet, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Akintunde.
So let me say this, because sometimes we cannot say the extent to which our partners are willing to go
if only we can keep placing the demands on them, for the things that we really desire and want in our own life.
I think is that clear?
Yeah, very clear. I just wanted to be sure I was doing the right thing. Having that kind of.
Of course, you are doing the right thing. In Nigeria now, nobody can say I'm Superman. I want to carry the whole thing,
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. I have my own question now. Okay. So my question is, wait, John, do you have a question for us before I go ahead with mine? Okay. So let me ask my question.
I don't have any question.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so I don't know, speaking on expectations, I have my expectations, right? So I was having this conversation with a friend, and he was just asking me, okay, what are the things that I would expect in my relationship? I said, one of the things I actually have on the table for me is, I think I want to retain my name. I don't care, I didn't look back. And so it's actually an opposite sex who wanted a relationship with me. And so and he said, oh, okay, I think I would want you to have my name. I said, well, it's not like a no thing for me. It's not that I've actually, but it's just a legacy I want to keep. It's just me. And it was like, okay, then church, how about church? I worship her. I'm a Catholic. So I would want you to come back to it. I was like, okay, that I don't know about it, but I don't have issue with, so far is God we are calling, and I do my worship, I do my fellowship online as well. So I don't have issues with that. So, but then when I started having issues, it's when we just started talking, and you're already telling me I have to be a Catholic. I have to, your name, my son must bear your name and all of, I was like, okay, it's so sudden. So I need an advice, because for me, I said it's all those things like doesn't match my own blueprints. So I want to be sure.
So maybe I should jump on that first, so that since Tola has jumped, Shola has jumped, so that you won't say I'm not a jumper. Let me also jump. Okay. Now, I think at the core of every expectation that has been expressed is actually the reason or the why behind the expectation. Okay. What would actually move the needle of your partner to compromise is not just that you're dropping your expectation on the table, but you're telling them why that thing is super important to you. So for you as a person, why is it important that you keep your father's name? Why? Right. Can you articulate it in clear terms that makes logical sense, not emotional sense? Right. So much so that we're able to say, okay, that makes sense. And okay, if that is important to you and is this important, then okay, maybe not. Then the second part of that thing is that you said your kids. So is it that you want to keep the name and you want your kids to bear the name too? Or so because there is a need for you to you as the owner of the expectation, you need to first of all think about the expectation in its fullness. It's almost like if I say that I want my wife to, I don't know what expectation to put on the table right now. You just have to think about the entirety of the consequences and the benefits of that expectation, right? Who is it going to benefit? How is it going to impact your husband? How is it going to impact the family? How is it going to benefit you as a person? Then you put this thing on a scale, right? Is it lopsided to your own side more than the other side of benefits? What are the possible things that can come out of it when these expectations are finally met? Because the truth of the matter is that, see, there are some expectations that are just unrealistic and they make no sense, to be honest. And demanding for them, it's almost like wanting to put a rope around the neck of your partner, you know, something like that. Now, on the issue of church and all of that, I think I already have an issue with that for me personally. The reason is because I have a particular case right now of a particular lady that used to attend one of these Pentecostals and married a Catholic, and then a strong Catholic, right, that believes in praying with the rosary, going for the mass, observing confession, would follow all through. Now, that means for this particular guy, right? So it's another case if he's a Catholic by birth, but not a practicing Catholic. So that means being a Catholic is not strong for him as a person. But in a case where it is strong and he would want, you know, everybody in his family to follow him on that journey, then it becomes a major thing that both parties must be able to agree on. You that you are not a Catholic, are you willing to abandon what you believe in, right? Because the truth of the matter is that, yes, we are all Christians, but the truth of the matter is that depending on whatever, we have fundamental difference in the way this Christianity work. Is only Muslim that is one all through. Unfortunately, Christian, we get different dimensions and different pattern and sizes. Do you understand? So, are you willing to abandon your own for this other one? You know, in this particular case that I'm talking about, before they got married, the husband was like, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Then one day, before they got married, just a couple of months, like 2 months before they got married, you know, the husband's mother says that she's visiting this girl in her house, and then she came to give the girl a rosary, you know, that, oh, I came to actually give you the rosary so that I can teach you how to pray with it. And the girl was like, mommy, you are already crossing your boundary. Like, which was your own buying rosary for me, teaching me how to pray? Apparently, the quality of the conversation between the guy and his parents is different from the quality of the conversation the guy is having with the lady. So the guy is representing to the family that the wife is 100% on board Catholic. The husband is representing to the wife that even for me, it's not a big deal like that. So, you know, we shall find a way. Now, they are married now, and the wife has no choice than to start going to Catholic, observing as many masses as possible, you know, and all of those things. Now she came to me and say, they say, see, the day they brought rosary for you is already to let you know that this Catholic matter is a bloodline thing. So the question is, in fact, in this case, you don't have plenty options again, because it's almost like, I don't know what negotiation you want to come into right now that would, you know, it's almost like you've intrigued into it and hey, here you are. So for me, on the name thing, it's a bit, I think you might be overboard, and this is me speaking to you personally. On the name thing, that might be overboard, right? Maybe you want to retain it for yourself and you are going to put iPhone, Adeluga, something. But maybe you want to keep it as a whole. Yeah, I don't know about that one. For somebody like me, I am very, very liberal. I've told my wife several times, are you sure you don't want, because in my, for instance, in my wife's family, they are all girls and my wife is the first child. At the point of, I said, are you sure you don't want to remain Taiwo? Me, I don't mind, because even me, I'm not using my surname. My name right now is Boluwatife David. My surname is not in it. My surname only appears on my official credentials. It doesn't appear on my name. So if my wife decides today that she wants to start using Taiwo, it doesn't move me one bit. But there are some people that name is a big deal too. So you need to measure it vis-a-vis, you know, individual preference and all of that. But on this church thing, the fact that you guys are both Christians doesn't mean that you are being equally yoked. That might be something that you need to really look at and be sure that you are willing to make the compromises when the time comes. Because trust me, a time will come that you might need to make those compromises.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Do we have any additional to that? Before you start, Sister Shola, okay, so like I said, of course, we talked about the why behind wanting to retain the name. So I have my why and I communicated it. And, you know, like we used to say, sometimes we just said, it doesn't really matter and all of that. Initially, I said for the church thing, like, Catholic, but we call on God. I would try and all of that. But later on, I revisited my decision and I'm like, okay, this is a decision I cannot live with because I'm not, the doctrine there is not me. And is into it, is conk, like it's in their blood. And I say that, you know, it was even the first thing he said, like, this is me and this is what I want us to do and all that. So I want to be sure I'm actually making, you know, but I have to just like, it's a red flag for me. And when I spot a red flag, please, the no. So Shola.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. And thank you, Councillor Bolu. You couldn't have been clearer. I think I gleaned from what you said. And I think that motive point is so important, the reason why things are done. So usually I don't want to question what someone has done, because when you know the reason why, at times it tempers that justice with mercy. You are like, he stole, but he's not eating, he has not eaten for 3 days. I'm not saying stealing is permitted, but it makes you see it in a different light. So the motive is very important. Also, this could be other signs in this man beyond what he's saying he wants. It could turn out to be a controlling person from what you're saying, you know, at this stage already dictating this, that, you know, rather than gradually allowing. Of course, we did say it's important to ask questions, but not saying, okay, you have to. So, I mean, as the relationship develops, you know, compromises are reached, couples, you know, I'm coming from the perspective of Christianity, because it says a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to cleave to his wife, Genesis 2:25. So it's important because you're starting your own family. You're not carrying on necessarily with the tradition of his family. You're starting. So what stops you both from reaching a compromise that, okay, you're not going to your own church, I'm not going to my own church. We'll find a neutral, mutually a compromise, if you like, a neutral new church. What stops that from happening? But from the look of things, the tie is still strong with his family. And I'm not saying, well, it's not unusual given that that was where he grew up, you know, but I feel that that's where compromise comes in. Now, in terms of and I think it's a very important point, and because this has to do with your faith. You know, you may find that further down the line, it may not be as you actually thought it would be, because especially when it starts coming to children and the influence you will have on them, and maybe hampering that influence by virtue of the fact that your hands are tied. You know, they have to follow what their father is doing. You know, you may find it a bit uncomfortable. So it's just something to think about. And then in terms of the name, I don't think a name is a deal breaker. Again, the intention is important. My sister has our maiden name as a middle name. I didn't think of it. I didn't want it. But if you do really want it, there might be a compromise. So what of, you know, as Councillor Bolu said, what of, you know, having, you know, your full name, Aderonke Adeluba Martins, if his name is Martins, sorry to, whatever. I don't know if I'm being prophetic here, but whatever. But well, whatever his surname is, so you can have a double barrel name. It's not uncommon these days, and I don't think that, especially if it's a genuinely lovely person, I don't think the name should, you know, be a deal breaker in that sense. But again, as I point out, if it's more of the fact that his character is controlling, because don't forget that in marriage anyway, the man kind of, you know, takes the leadership, you know, as I think it was Brother Councillor Tola that talked about him being the team leader. So you're still going to submit. So it's always wise to marry a man that is willing to compromise, because if he's somebody that is, you know, very set in his ways and, you know, kind of, you know, controlling, then it becomes an issue, because his leadership will be heavy-handed, if you understand what I mean. So it's something you want to bear in mind.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just to add to that, I have, they said a lot of all that should be said. But we just wanted to add also that in making this decision, you could get away with it for yourself. I don't want to change my name. Fine, and he agrees. I don't want to go to Catholic, and he agrees. But that's not the big picture. The big picture is the kids are going to come in future. You cannot decide that the children, what the children's name are going to be. You can't. The law already says that, and if the guy is not willing to agree, you cannot do anything about it in future. And then you cannot legislate on the church the children are going to go to. You can only talk for yourself. So if he agrees for himself, fine. Be sure what he has agreed to, and be sure what you are getting into, because you can only do that for yourself. If I allow my wife to be to take her name, does not necessarily mean I'm going to allow my children to bear her name. And if I allow you to go to your church, it doesn't mean that I'm going to allow you to take my children to the church. So you know what you're agreeing to. And as our sister has said, yes, there can be compromise. Both of you leave your parents and start a new course for yourself. That's the ideal, but usually that doesn't happen. And it's also good that for church, for worship, it's usually nice for a family to worship together, to have the same doctrine, because doctrinal issues also tear families apart. So when he's agreeing to, you can do your thing, I'll do my thing, and all that, know what you're agreeing to, because it has its own implications. Thank you. We can't hear you. You are muted. You are muted.
Sorry. So thank you very much, Councillor Tola, Coach Boluwatife, and our legal mama, Sister Shola. So I really appreciate our time coming out. And so we would be rounding up. But before we end the session now, I have just one question, please. Permit me. So someone asked me a question that, okay, I saw your video, you talked about the blueprint, but I want to ask that our parents actually do not work with a blueprint. So why is it necessary? And they have a very good marriage, they have a healthy marriage. So why is it necessary for me to have a blueprint? So in quick minutes, I want us to just answer that, and so we can end the show for today. Thank you.
All right, to jump on that, it is, we are in different times. We are not in the times of our parents. The times are different, times have changed. The norms when our parents were growing up are different from our own norms. So if your parents could, or our parents could get a good marriage and without, some of them didn't even get to know themselves until the marriage, and everything worked. The women are submissive, and perhaps the guys were the one that the lord of the house. The fathers went out to do to get money. The women were totally submissive to the husband or dependent on the husband. And the dynamics have changed. Now, perhaps the wife is the one with the larger income that sustains the family, and we have stay-at-home husbands these days, depending on what we are agreeing. So the times have changed, and you cannot play the game with the old rules. It wouldn't stand. So if you work then, we are not in the same time, we are in different times. Thank you.
Oh, okay. So everything has changed. All right. Coach, you want to say something to that?
Okay, so I think I'm going to actually look at this from purpose and all of that. So a couple of years ago, I was invited to Government Church to come and speak to a group of young people on relationship and all of those things, the concept of the will of God and all of those things. And before I arrived there the night before, and then the wife of the pastor of the church, I guess she wanted to sample me to see what I'm going to say to them and be sure that the person they want to talk to their young people, is a valid person to speak to them. So she asked me the question around, do I personally believe in people marrying the will of God, before they got married and all of that. And then I explained it this way. I said that if you look at the Bible generally, right, using the children of Israel as a case study, when they left Egypt, right, we noticed that God gave them a lot of rules and regulations that are not necessarily rules and regulations, but they are just tenets for living. God gave them instructions on how to plant crops. God gave them instructions on how to take care of themselves when they are menstruating. God gave them instructions on how to wear clothes and how not to wear clothes. God gave them a lot of instruction in a lot of things. Why? Because as at that time, there is very limited information that God has generally released into the world. So God knew that if he wants them to make the right decisions, then he would have to give them instruction per time, per season, right, on how to do it so that they don't make mistakes. But as they grow, as the world evolves and all of that, God has pumped a lot more information into the world where there are things that are already known generically that going to seek for instructions for is almost like you are telling God that you're a dumb person, because that information is already cheaply accessible, and you don't need special revelation or special instruction to know what to do in those cases. So I said that majority of our parents at the time that they got married, right, they don't even know anything about the consciousness of purpose. They don't know anything about this. They don't know anything about that. There was nobody speaking about all of those things, right? So, and yet God still wants them to fulfill specific assignments. So it was the responsibility of God to bring this person that he knows that will help this other person and match them together by himself. Because if he doesn't do that, there's going to be a lot of mismatch up and down, left, right, and center. Now, but as we have grown through life, there's a lot of information around purpose, around value, around this, around that, that by the time you are reaching a marriageable age, there is a level of information that you're supposed to already have. There's a level of understanding that you should already have, that you don't need to go and do 3 days fasting because you are looking for wife again, because you already know who you are and you can already pick who can be in that relationship with you and help you fulfill whatever it is that you want to fulfill. Our parents then, they do not have the level of information that we have now. So they depended on a supernatural being to just do a magical matchmaking for them. But in today's world, there is a level of understanding about myself. There's a level of understanding about who I am, what I want to do, and all of those things that automatically, through the lens of who I am, through the lens of what I'm trying to achieve, through the lens of my purpose, I can pick somebody that I think will align with it and will help me deliver it, even if the person is not the most figure eight that I will find, right? So I say this way generally, that when you look at it, bringing it back into Christianity and all of that, I think any Christian brother can marry any Christian sister by virtue of us being Christians, and then we believe the same thing. But I think what really, somebody gave this analogy, and I'm going to close with that analogy, is the fact that, as in Christians, so we have Brother Rock, we have Brother Tree, and we have Brother Rock, Brother Tree, and Brother River, right? Now, I know now all these 3 brothers, they are Christian brothers, tongue speaking, born again, sanctified, sanctimonious, they have great values, and all of those things. However, as a lady, I have come to understand that, so all these 3 people are also trying to ask me out at the same time, right? However, as a lady, I've come to recognize that I am Sister Fish. Now, Sister Fish already knows that if I go with Brother Rock is sturdy, he is solid, but that is not the person I need for sustenance because I'm Sister Fish. Brother Tree is tall, is visible, it can be seen everywhere. But I also know that by virtue of the fact that I'm Sister Fish, I cannot go with Brother Tree. Now, there is Brother Water or Brother River. By virtue of me knowing that I am Sister Fish, I automatically know that out of these 3 brothers, is only Brother River or Brother Water that is a perfect match for me as a person. I don't need special prayer for that. I don't need special fasting. I don't need to climb Mount Everest to be able to receive Brother Fish in this case. I will be stupid to go to God, having known that I am Sister Sister Fish to now be asking God, say, out of these 3 brothers, who should I marry? Oh, just look at me. Don't you know you are fish already? Where will a fish thrive? It's not inside water. So for me, the difference between that time and now is the fact that then there isn't so much information. So it was primarily God's responsibility to just be doing the matchmaking by himself so that his agenda is not thwarted. But now he has released so much information that what God is actually trying to do is preparing the next generation for the information that they need. So the information that he has already given us, let us continue to use that one. And part of that information is you knowing that there is this, you are supposed to have a blueprint for your marriage and sitting down to actually design one so that you can then ensure that you are creating a fail-safe marriage as you go along on your journey in life.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Shola, do you have something you want to add?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much to the speakers. I'm really enjoying this. I like that analogy, Councillor Bolu, about the river fish. And you couldn't be more correct, because even if we look at the book of Genesis in chapter 2, it says exactly the same thing. Don't forget that God made the man sleep and took out his rib and made a woman of it. And when he woke up, the man identified that this is the bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. It was the man that called woman, woman. So you can also identify the bone of your bone when you see them. That Sister Fish, you can identify your water. And if it's a man, you can identify the woman. You should, because it should come naturally to you. God didn't tell the man, I took her from your bone. No, immediately he saw the woman. He said, this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, and called her woman. So for every one here, you have that intuition. You have what it takes. Now, listen to me, please. This is so important. You said something about, obviously, the information, Councillor Bolu. We should never, ever underestimate the power of prayer in choosing a life partner. It's so important. The information is important, but the power of prayer, and I say that because the book of Proverbs makes me understand that inheritances comes from fathers. You know, when you have a rich father, even if they leave you something, inheritances is from fathers. It says, boy, a good wife is from God. A good wife comes from God. So it's so important. You know, some women look beautiful on it, they're perfect, miss whatever, but there's just something. And God is the one that can spot that just something which your eyes can't see. So it's so important. Now that's for the singles. For the married, I coined an acronym, CAF, Communication, Appreciation, Forgiveness. CAF. Those 3 things work wonders in a marriage. There was a man that had a problem with his wife. They ended up in divorce, and they saw him 2 months after. Nobody could recognize this, and he said, wow, is this you? He said, yes. So he was looking so trim, you know, very different. He said, this guy has, he said, yes, because he's in the market again. And somebody shook his head and said, only if you put in half of this effort into your marriage, maybe you won't be where you are looking for another woman, starting all over again. So at times we take each other for granted because now we have what we want. I think it was Councillor Tola that talked about the chasing, or was it Councillor Bolu? The way you chase and all of that before you get what you want. And then after you get what you want, you just relax. So we have to, I think you talked about oil in Councillor Tola. I think that's where that appreciation comes in. You have to appreciate each other. You have to. At times you can't really see much to appreciate because you've lifted the bar so high. But look for something to show appreciation about. The communication, I can't stress it enough. I think all the speakers have actually touched on that point, how important communication is. Because at times you're just suffering in silence. The other person doesn't even know what you're going through. So you have to communicate, be expressive, and then forgiveness. Someone once said, marriage is about 2 forgivers living together. You can't make marriage work. And at times, when you let forgiveness get to the level of resentment, there's no turning back. So at times, the forgiveness, the unforgiveness is so much that it has become a stronghold. It's not like a big thing. So that the person pours a little water on the floor, you blow out so much. And the person will be like, is it this little water? But it's because there's unforgiveness in your heart. So you spent it up, so that any little thing the person does just finally breaks it. And that's why you hear people divorcing over little things like toothpaste. It wasn't that toothpaste. It started before the toothpaste. So there has been things going on, but you don't talk about it. You bottle it in. You don't. So there's no forgiveness. How can there be forgiveness when you've not even spoken about it? So it's so important to forgive each other because nobody is perfect. You may say your wife is the worst witch ever, but don't forget that we all have our weaknesses. You may say your husband is the worst man ever, but the truth is, I believe there's good in every man. And when you start practicing appreciation, I think it's contagious. It's like sowing a seed. Over time, it may take a while, but the person will begin to appreciate you. Thank you very much indeed.
Wow, thank you very, very much. Okay, so we actually spent 18 minutes extra on our time. I really appreciate our presence. I really appreciate our time. All right, this is the part whereby we show our faces. So I want every one of us to show our faces so we can see the faces behind each name. Olushola, Ona, John, let us see your face. Akintunde, let us see your face. All right, Mrs. Okay. Just I was about calling her. All right, so I understand. All right, she needed to leave. Okay, so let us see our faces, and before we say bye-bye to, okay, this is Olushola. Hi. This is Dami. Hi, good to see you guys. And this is John. All right, good to see your faces. Thank you for joining us for the show. All right, we're gonna come to the end. We've come to the end of the show. So Coach Bolu, I really appreciate your time. Sister Shola, thank you very, very much for saying yes. And Councillor Tola, I appreciate. All right, I hope to extend, we'll come again. So when I come, right. So the goal of this platform is to help us break relationship ambiguities, because we need knowledge to actually live our life right in terms of relationship, to actually live that marriage as in what God actually designed for us in marriage, right? So when everybody deserves to be happy, and of course happiness is overrated, like I would say, but then we deserve, and this is why we need this platform to learn, to unlearn and relearn. All right, so thank you everybody. I will say have a lovely weekend and a beautiful day. Right, so ciao.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Our coach, don't mind your